Hey everyone, Jacob here. In today's video, we are going to be covering how you can install Kali Linux. And it's not just going to be a basic Kali Linux installation. We're actually going to go a little bit above and beyond that and cover some configuration changes that I would recommend for your Kali Linux. So whether you're studying for the OSCP or you're just practicing on platforms like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me, this hopefully is going to give you a Kali installation that is really going to help you out. Let's get started. So the very first thing we're going to do is go over to kali.org, which is of course the Kali Linux website, and we're just going to click download over there. Now that's going to take us to two things, the installer images or the virtual machines. We are going to go for the virtual machines here because we are going to be installing this in VirtualBox. Now there's a couple of different hypervisors supported here, VMware, VirtualBox, Hyper-V, whatever actually suits you. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to be using VirtualBox for this. So I'm just going to click download over here to start that. And we are going to then skip ahead so you don't have to wait for that. Now we're back. We're going to extract our archive with 7-zip. And essentially, we're going to have a look at what might be in that archive now. So looking into that, we have two files in particular. We have a VBox file and a VDI file. Now, what we're going to do is open the VirtualBox, and we're going to go up at the top to Machine. And once we have done that, we're going to click Add. And we're just going to go ahead and find that VBox file, wherever it may be on your drive, and we're going to load that into VirtualBox, and you'll see a new virtual machine has now appeared over there. So before we start, we're just going to mess around with the configuration quickly. So I'm going to increase the amount of RAM provision to this virtual machine, simply because I think if you're doing heavier loads like Bloodhound or AD exploitation, stuff like that, enumeration, we are going to be needing a little bit more RAM. And I'm also going to enable 3D acceleration just to hopefully make the experience with the virtual machine a little bit smoother. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and start the virtual machine. Now that the virtual machine is started, we're just going to log in with Kali, which is the default credentials. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger here so we can actually see what's going on. Now, you can install the VirtualBox guest editions as well. That is an optional configuration that adds a bunch of extra functionality. I'm not going to cover this in this video. There are plenty of guides online to installing the VirtualBox guest editions. We don't really need it for what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to turn the terminal size, the text size up a little bit quickly so we can see what's going on. And then what we're going to run initially is sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. Now, all that's going to do is it's going to update Kali to the latest version. So I'm going to let that run because that can take quite a while. And once that's run through everything, we will be back. Just a heads up, if there are any prompts that come up, sometimes it asks you to approve specific things. Just enter yes or Y, as you can see on the screen here. But we're going to let this run and we will be back shortly. Now we are back and everything is installed and updated. So what we're going to do to apply a config change here is we're actually going to install something called BSPWM. And that is a tiling window manager for Linux. Now, what is a tiling window manager? Well, it's quite simple. It is a setup or configuration for how your Linux manages windows that essentially allows you to have configs like what you see on the screen here. Now, you're going to be able to have this on your Kali Linux quite easily. And the main draws of something like BSPWM is that it lets you neatly organize your desktop. And I find it to be a much better configuration than the default. Now, Kali Linux is actually completely usable in this step. We are just going to do this as a bit of an extra configuration. So I'm just going to clone the Git repo there with git clone and the repository link. And we're going to wait for that repo to finish. Now that the repo is done, we are just going to ls quickly to see where it is and just cd into that BSPWM directory. Now, this specific repository for BSPWM kind of automates a BSPWM installation on Kali. It's quite simple to follow the instructions for this. We just need to run a few simple commands with some shell scripts that they actually provide us. So let's go ahead and run those. I'm going to copy paste that in there shortly. And we're just going to change the permissions on those scripts and run them. And there's going to be a couple of yes prompts here as well. So I'm just going to skip through the installation step, just accept those yes prompts as well, and we will be right back. Now that that is installed, we're just going to log out of the system quickly so we can initialize BSPWM. So we're going to log out of there, and in the top right hamburger menu on the login screen, we're just going to select BSPWM. And then we're going to log in with Kali again, and that should initialize it. And you can see the desktop environment is looking quite a bit different now. So to open a terminal, it's very simple. It's just Windows key and enter. And you can see now I run ls, but it says that lsd is not found, and it wants me to install that utility. So we're just going to do that. Now, the reason for that is because in this config, a lot of the default Linux commands have actually been replaced by other utilities and aliased to them. Those utilities are basically just upgraded, better versions of the original Linux binaries. So with that in mind, we are going to walk through BSPWM. Now, BSPWM is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a tiling window manager. If I open a bunch of other terminals here with Windows Enter, you can see that they just neatly organize and arrange. Now, we can do a bunch of stuff. We can shift these terminals around. We can alter their positioning, size, everything here. I'm not going to do that now. But I think one of the key things to note is that BSPWM allows you to run with different workspaces that are all accessible via your keyboard. So right now I've swapped to another workspace. I've done that by pressing the Windows key and your numpads, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. That allows you to swap between your different workspaces. You can see I can also open Chrome via the bar on the top with this configuration, which is quite convenient as well. That being said, I think we can make things a little bit better here, and this configuration is something that I would encourage you thoroughly to explore, to configure yourself and to customize, because that's how you get the best Kali Linux distro. So I'm going to run the teaming or theming script up at the top there, and that's going to allow us to change the theme. So we're going to use penetration testing mode over there, and we're just going to swap over to the Ryan theme. Now, we can actually customize our own themes here. I'm not going to do that in this video, but the point of this is to encourage you to experiment and customize to get the best version of Kali Linux yourself. Now, you can see that the visuals have changed a bit with the theme. It's a little bit more eye-catching, pleasing, relaxing to the eye maybe. But in any case, what I'm going to show you how to do now is just edit the SXKHDRC. I don't know if I said that right. It's a bit of a mouthful, but basically that is the utility that BSPWM uses to bind keyboard shortcuts. And it's a very keyboard-oriented configuration. You're going to be able to customize everything yourself here. So we're just going to run into the home directory now, go cd.config, cd sxhkd, and that config file in there is going to be the key to allow us to add our own shortcuts to this configuration. So you can see there's a bunch of shortcuts pre-configured there. Super plus return, for example, opens Kitty, which is your terminal emulator. We already knew that though. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a shortcut to open Firefox. So we first need to find out where the Firefox binary is. So I'm going to press Windows Enter to open another terminal and just run which Firefox. That's going to give us the location of the Firefox binary. With that in mind, we are now going to add a shortcut here for launching Firefox. I think I'm going to make this shortcut Windows plus Shift plus F. That just seems convenient to me. So we're just going to type in super plus Shift plus F there. And on the next line, we're going to paste the location of the binary. Now that's going to allow us to essentially open Firefox just by using your keyboard, essentially. It's just shortcuts. So we're going to go into a new workspace now, and I'm just going to press the shortcut combination, Windows Shift F, and you can see Firefox opens. Now, as I said, this is highly extensible, highly customizable, and I would strongly recommend you guys spend the time to add in your own shortcuts and really customize this, because that's how you're going to get the best out of this configuration. Now that we have installed Kali Linux and BSPWM, you are good to go. However, if you want to really deep dive the config and customize things further, I would fully encourage you to do so. I wanted to keep this video on the shorter side, but if you guys want a more in-depth guide for configuring BSPWM, let me know in the comments below. If you did find this video useful, consider leaving a like and subscribing. The channel recently crossed the 1K subscribers mark, which is pretty huge to me. So thank you all for your support, and I will see you in the next one.